Hi everyone, welcome to Warhammer. We're your hosts, Jack
and Dan.
Today we're going to be talking about the latest metawatch that just came out.
Yes, as GW finally balanced 40k.
We're going to be reviewing our table that we put together to make it a bit easier, so it should be fun. Next we're going to be talking about the Terminator Assault Squad as our unit review.
Oh, classic squad for unit review this time, yes.
It really is. And lastly, we're going to be looking at the holiday season Christmas boxes coming out.
Yeah, some really interesting mix of boxes there. Are they bargains, or is GW just trying to throw a load of trash together?
They do that a lot.
Yeah.
But yes, stay tuned for all those.
So the first segment we're looking at is Metawatch. Balanced Data Slate came out in September. We've had time to digest that now. So Games Workshop published a new Metawatch and a new league table of where all the factions are in terms of their win rates, and there's been some massive changes. Jack, what are your initial thoughts on this?
You know, I really like the video. I wish they'd done more Metawatch videos, but at the same time, you don't want to oversaturate it. But I thought the video was good. It was nice to see that they're bringing it in line, basically. So a lot of those units in that Goldilocks zone that they always refer to.
Yes, in between the win rates of, 45 and 55% is the Goldilocks zone. So that
exactly.
That indicates balance. And if you're above that, you need reining in, and if you're below that, you need a little help.
A bit of
Jakari.
Yeah, they are quite. Well, they're the only ones below the table now, aren't they? Below. Or...
Well, we'll start with the big winners, I suppose.
Yes.
Let's do that. So, Orks, they moved above the Goldilocks zone. Actually, they're in second place now.
Really nice. That's a big jump.
Yeah, Votann and Tau were the other two big winners. So three big winners, but let's start with the Orks.
Yes, absolutely.
So they now got their win rate went up from 47% to a massive 56%. So they're just outside the Goldilocks zone, but that does indicate that they're pretty strong right now.
Really good.
And
really good.
Why is that, do you think?
Yeah, so I reached out to a few friends just to kind of get their thoughts on why Orks are doing so well.
And they all went, wow!
Well, they all went, wow! They all went, but also it is October, so it is Orktober.
Oh, yes,
so I think that's why we're seeing a lot of those ones.
Yeah, maybe it'll calm down in towards Christmas. That'll be
Yes. Now, I guess my experience that I've had with Orks recently, and this was kind of ironed out from my friend as well, where Orks can go from distance to inches now, where they can literally, obviously in their trucks, where there are like 70 points, they can move all their boys up, like 10 inches. Obviously, if they're wiring, I think they can move more as well.
Yes, I mean they've got if you're looking at a good move in the trucks and an advance typically in your first turn. If the opponent has been foolish enough to set up too close to you, if you call a war first turn, I think you can advance and charge, can't you? So,
exactly.
Yeah, this used to be the classic way to run Orks, didn't it? Yeah. It was like loads of boys, loads of trucks,
party buses,
all
up there.
You eat them up the board, and get right into your opponent.
And now they can, and it's a bit more viable as well, because the Orks are just now that, like, because what you also mentioned was like the Custodies and the Eldar, they've been reined in more, so their melee's actually got better, although it hasn't changed so much. It's because all the other melee armies that were really good have been
Custodies was a massive problem, particularly with the double fight first that they had.
Exactly.
That was obnoxious. And
it really was.
So that has they haven't quite made melee great again.
No.
I am going to keep saying that.
Until it's a thing.
But it definitely is becoming more viable, isn't
it? One thing that I actually mentioned I didn't realise was Orks have pistols. So in combat, when they're in combat in the mid-board objectives, they can do secondaries.
Oh,
because
right.
Obviously, whenever the most secondaries say are, as long as
eligible to shoot,
an eligible shoot unit can do this, and obviously that doesn't impact them. Not all objectives, but some of them you can still like shoot and then charge.
Right.
But if they're already in combat, well, they don't need to charge, so they can do that. They can do that secondary action to get those additional points.
Sneaky gits.
Exactly. The gits are also on there.
Yeah.
But yes, so that's it for the Orc side of things.
That's pretty interesting, and they're obviously going to get looked at if their win rate stays above the Goldilocks zone.
Yeah,
they might get some points. It feels, I mean, Orks, you want to see a lot of boys on the table. That feels right, but maybe there's slightly too many boys on the table at the moment.
True. Maybe they'll probably get like a points increase.
Yeah, maybe it's a little one. Maybe it's just a little one.
Just a small one.
So next up was Votann. Now they jumped 23 places from the very bottom of the meta up to third best faction.
That is a big jump.
Yeah, I mean they needed something. We talked about this before. Their win rate went from the last meta watch was 39% all the way up to 54%. So they're almost pushing that at the top of that Goldilocks zone. They're still in it, but they're close to the top.
They are really close to the top.
And there's a good few reasons for this as well, isn't there?
There is. Again, so I reached out to a couple of friends on the back of this one. So what they mentioned was the points reduction that came in. They're says that it didn't really impact the units so much. So like if we take away, if we're obviously the reduction in points for the units, that wouldn't have changed the meta. So like if it was just the units that got changed and not the tanks, they wouldn't have seen much of a climb that they have.
Right.
The main thing that they've seen from this is actually the reduction in their vehicles that they've got. So the Land Fortress, for example, that's 200, I think it was 230 points that is. But the firepower that can do and the amount of guns that it has,
it's a beast, isn't it?
It's an absolute beast. And again, it's like T8, 16 wounds, so it's a tough cookie to get through.
I played a game against our friend Jared in his Votann, and it was very much a game of cat and mouse. Often it is with Drukhari because my Drukhari are very squishy, but it was a case of me trying to get him to bring his Hecaton land fortresses out. And I say fortresses because you can fit 2 in a list very easily now because of the points drops.
If not 3, 230, you could
easily put 3 in.
Easily 3 in there,
and it was the game was very much like who's going to move their gunboats out first.
That's it.
But I mean, Jared actually he played a very solid game, but it did feel to me like the points drop was a bit too extreme on them.
Especially on the tank side of things. Like the units, they said it was okay, but even that wouldn't have made much of a difference.
There was a couple of the units that were overcosted. So I played our other friend Rob before they got this this boost, and they were awful. Like he couldn't field enough units really, and it was a very one-sided game. And Rob's a good player, but there was nothing he could do. So, but it just feels like the pendulum swung a bit too far the other way on some of them.
I think it has. He says that if they increase the land fortresses points, they could probably see them maybe like drop one of them to make it not feel much more. Bring in a few more units. But I asked the question about now that the units are more cheaper. Obviously, because whenever a unit dies in Votann, you actually get those grudge tokens. So I was asking, since there's been a point reduction in units, are you not more inclined to bring more units so that more units die, like a lot of smaller, weaker ones, to get more grudge tokens to get those extra benefits? But he was like, nah. He goes, I'd still rather just bring more tanks because of how much firepower they bring.
Yeah, they're very strong, and that will get balanced again. It just probably needs a little tweak, but I'm delighted that they're playable again because it was awful for Votann.
It's nice to see them. Like, I mean, I love dwarves. First of all, I think they're class. But then when they had a very rocky start when they first came to 40k.
Rocky start. Hey,
glad you caught on. Glad you caught that. But yeah, they took themselves a hole on that one when it first came out. I'll stop now.
Dropped like a stone down the meta.
Wouldn't go for days on these.
We're sorry. We really
apologies
are.
Apologies to all the listeners at home. We'll stop our shitty puns. But yes, talking about the grudge tokens as well. So everyone doesn't know what the grudge tokens actually do. So you can apply a grudge token to a unit, and if you apply 1 grudge token, you get a +1 to hit against that unit. If you apply 2 tokens, you get +1, but also a +1 to the wound roll as well,
which is pretty powerful stuff.
Absolutely. So having more of those grudge tokens, because you actually get more. That was it as well. The latest change, you get more grudge tokens at the start of the game as well.
Yes.
So I think you mentioned you get 4 when you first start in a 2k list. It might be different for 1k, of course. But you get more to start with, and then obviously more cheaper. Well, in my head, more cheaper units. More grudge token as
exactly. Yeah, you can sort of start that grudge train if you get them to start with on these units, kill, and then as your units get killed, you just put more and more on. It's an interesting mechanic. I really like it because your faction actually gets stronger as the game goes on.
Absolutely.
Which is there's not many factions that can do that. So it is a good mechanic. It was awful in 9th because it was far too powerful.
It was,
but they seem to have got it about right. I think
100%. Last one then, Tau?
Yes. Now they jumped massive 20 places as well. They were second bottom and they went up to 5th.
Jumps from these lower people.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, their win rate went from 38% to 53%. So again, they are sort of top of the Goldilocks zone-ish.
Really good.
But again, they were just not really very playable.
They weren't. And some of the things that I found, again, we reached out with a few friends on the back of this one. They had obviously a points decrease across the board, and then some of the comments that they were making saying that like the battlesuits units, they were being fielded massively before the data slate, which is the battlesuits.
The crisis battlesuits,
yes. They had a points decrease, and they were just saying like, we didn't need it.
Yeah,
they just didn't need it. So now they can just bring more of them, and that's what everyone's doing really.
Competitively, that's what you're seeing is crisis suit spam like 3 units of 6, which is maxed out, I think, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And he made a really good point as well. He says that when you look at it's quite swingy when it comes to Tau in tournaments. So some Tau people are actually winning tournaments quite easily, but then there's some of them who come incredibly last. And if you actually look at what maps they played and the terrain that they have set up, it's heavily dependent on what type of terrain is on the field at the time of playing, because Tower really depend on their guns being available. So some of the tournaments where you see they've actually came first, second or third is where the terrain isn't as much.
Right. So if the terrain's not optimal, like it's not official tournament terrain or whatever, then perhaps
Tower are doing a lot better. So it's a really good observation, to be fair.
Yeah, it is. That's very true. And I think one of the challenges with the crisis suits is there is a strat to fire and fade them as well, isn't there?
Yes, exactly.
So they can pop out, do an enormous amount of damage, and then pop back behind the line of sight, blocking terrain again.
Exactly. If you've only got like a couple of bits of terrain, then that'd be really beneficial, because you'll have them at the back, pop them out, shoot, pop them back in, and then obviously whatever. But at the same time, I mean, the way I see that though as well is that if you've got a lot of terrain, well, you can move them forward, shoot them, move into a different bit of terrain, but while still advancing up the board.
Yes.
But apart from that, the two big comments that he made was saying that a lot of points decreases across the board, which didn't really need to come in. And then again, if you don't have good terrain, then you might be doing very badly.
That's always been the case when you're facing a gunline army. If the terrain isn't there, then then your opponent's going to struggle, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it's something that tournaments are getting much better at, I think.
Yes.
GW was notorious for this. Like there's been other instances where proper I say proper, but official GTs where years have gone by where the terrain hasn't been as good as it should be. But these days, generally speaking, it's usually on point.
It is. And I think one of the last ones is Death Guard for the biggest winners.
So Death Guard and Admech both jumped 11 places, and they both now sit on 50% win rate. So they are in the absolute Stew Black sweet spot.
Yep.
Yes,
that's really nice. Death Guard wise, asked one person about this. We don't have any friends that play Admech.
No.
So not very much comment on the Admech side of things.
Well, I know a little bit about that, but tell us first about Death Guard, and we'll box that off.
Certainly can. So what we found was the Contagion has changed now as well. So obviously Contagion was when you got like a -1 to your toughness, whenever you were very close to the Death Guard unit. They still have that, but they've also got an additional benefit that can come with at the start of every battle round.
Yes.
But the good thing about the benefit is that you can pick and choose which one you pick, and there's good ones for different armies. So what my friend was saying was a lot of Death Guard players are still finding the feat and finding what is the best debuff to give to your opponent for depending on what army they're playing.
So you can give them like minus to wound.
Yes, I haven't got them all written down, but
there's a couple of other ones. Yeah,
obviously extra
minus
tough.
I think it's minus AP as well or something.
Exactly.
Like that. So depending on who you're playing, you have to pick it. You can't change it during the game. You pick it before, don't you?
Exactly.
But it gives you some flexibility.
It does, and obviously the variety of stuff they've got to pick from, it depends on. Is good because then again, depending on what army you're versing or the style of army you're versing, like endless swarms for Tyranids or the big fellas that you want to try and take down, you might want to pick slightly different. I think what he said was everyone's just kind of finding the feat of what works best for
it's going to take a little while, but it's nice. We keep saying this, but it's really nice to see Death Guard back on the table as well.
It is, they're just really good models overall, right?
Lush army.
Lush models.
I played our friend Lewis after the other week after they'd got these buffs, and he just rinsed us. Actually, it was grim. But they were they can play an awful lot more aggressive. They got points drops as well, so they can get a few more models on the table, which some Death Guard players aren't too happy about because they're saying it feels a bit too much like a Horde army and it should be elite. But combined with this extra Contagion debuffs that they've got, that is working really well.
Absolutely.
And they are, if you were GW designers, like Stew Black's going to be incredibly satisfied that two of those armies that they brought out of the lower leagues have hit exactly the middle ground, perfect middle ground.
Definitely. And last one is Admech. So you got a few words to say about Admech?
Yeah, just because they got points drops on some of their Skitar units. It's somewhere between 20 and almost 30% on some of them. So they and again, that people weren't necessarily pleased about that because it just means that you have to buy more models. But one of the things
GW doing that to us, more models.
They also changed the rules slightly in that they just made them slightly more resilient because one of the issues was that they were just dying too easily. So they've tweaked some of their saves, so they've improved some of their saves and even some of their invuln saves in some cases. Yeah. So that's given them a bit more of that traditional Admech durability back.
Right.
So combine that with the points, that's made them playable.
Good.
And obviously, at the moment, they're just they're waiting on their codex, which is due out roughly the same time as ours. Like there's the next pair, so Necrons and Admech.
So are they coming around first before Necrons? Because I kept on whenever they introduced it, they always introduced Necrons first. But then I think I read somewhere that it was going to be
in the Warhammer community article. It specifically said the fourth codex will be Necrons.
Yeah,
and we've only had 2 so far. So by default, that should mean the third.
Math
one is
checks
Admech.
out. Yeah, math is there.
Yeah.
But it was strange though because like when they've done the Warhammer Day previews,
yes,
they didn't have much to say about Admech.
No, we were like the stars of the show.
Yeah, we got loads. We were the first to be introduced as well, so we got loads to talk about.
I mean, in some cases, it might just be somebody in marketing using that word without actually meaning it, if you know what I mean. So they might be thinking about it in terms of this is the fourth one we are talking about,
right,
rather than this is the fourth one in the order. So we'll just have to wait and see.
I am a bit biased. I do want the Necron first.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Very nice. Well, they're the biggest winners. What about the biggest losers?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest losers are all of us because Eldar, who I hate, is still in top spot.
Damn it!
I mean, Eldar's win rate dropped a full 10%, so they were on 67% win rate, which is obscene.
Yes,
and they're now on 57.
Yep.
So they're still above the Goldilocks zone.
They are.
I mean, obviously they are much less oppressive than they were, but
which has allowed a lot of those ones, a lot of small ones to rise up.
Yeah, it's helped an awful lot with the balance of the game, but they're still not quite there yet, and they just seem to be. Because of the nature of Eldar, they seem to be a very hard army for GW to balance. Because they're still good at all aspects of the game.
Yeah,
and there's only so far they can keep tweaking those points until you can basically take hardly any Eldar.
Very true.
So
very true.
It's going to be an interesting way to see how they fix that. But
yes.
Between them and Orks, they're just outside the Goldilocks zone. There's only 2, and if they can bring them in, and then if we can get Jakari into the Goldilocks zone from the bottom of the meta, then everybody will be in the Goldilocks zone,
which would be crazy.
I can't remember. Well, I don't think that's actually happened since they started doing this.
We didn't mention, but obviously these indexes and such have only been out. Fifth have only really been out for. You always mentioned getting close to 4 months now.
Yeah, I think we're in the 4th month of 10th edition.
Really
so
good.
Yeah,
that's really. We were nowhere near this back in 9th.
No, exactly. It took them until almost the end of the edition to get to around here.
And they weren't even there. They were by the end of 9th, they weren't even at this point now.
Yes.
So that is crazy. Now, maybe the codexes is what's going to F it all up. Hopefully not. But it's a possibility because we've got the Space Marine one. That's released now, isn't it? Yes.
So the Space Marine Codex is out. We're starting to see a few Space Marine lists winning tournaments, but they haven't immediately jumped up to replace Eldar, and as you can see by the win rate still in that respect. But they are, like 47% is out. I think, as you were saying, with in terms of the Space Marines, they're on about the mid 40s.
Yeah, we have a little chart that we've got in front of us. We'll put it on screen so everyone can see that as well.
But as you were saying with Death Guard, there's so many combos or potential combos in the Space Marine Codex. It's going to take a little while to find the footing. For them to find the really nasty ones.
Yeah, the really nasty ones that can go away. But again, overall pretty nice stuff. Any other losers? Got Chaos Space Marines there as well, right?
No, Chaos Space Marines are doing okay. Genestealer Cults had a bad drop. That was largely on points again, and then Jakari were losers, and to be fair to us, this is the one that we got right in our predictions, and we did say that this would happen.
Got one right.
You did, yes.
Let's get in there.
And the reason is because while they got points drops on a few units, they were quite small, and they were outweighed by a massive points increase on one of their best units, which is the Ravager gunships. Yeah, like the closest thing they've got to tanks, basically.
Right.
And so on the competitive scene, a lot of lists after the points changes were basically the same. It might have lost 20, 30, 40 points,
right?
But nothing major.
Yeah. So I mean, that's reflected in the 1% change.
Yes,
in obviously change because you went up by 1%, which was congratulations on that, by the way.
So the win rate, the win rate was I think 43, and I think they went up to 44. And
well done, that one.
Yeah, it wasn't me. Well, this is the other issue. We've got a very tiny player base now because a lot of people have moved away from Jakari because they don't like how they play in 10th.
Yeah.
And a lot of if you're a serious competitive player, they're very difficult to play. There's a few diehards that are still playing them who are very, very good players, and they are kind of artificially pushing our win rate up.
Helping you guys get up there.
They're not helping.
I was going to say, are they doing the bad thing? Because the good players are winning, but then all the bad players are
You've got a guy,
losing.
he's a fantastic content creator called Scary. He's got a web, if you haven't seen his YouTube channel, Scarycast, go and check it out if you like Drakari. It's awesome. But he's such a good player. He took a meme list with basically all Coven, which is like homunculus units and racks and stuff, which are nowhere near like the good units in that codex, and went 4-2 at a GT.
That's
really
like,
good. Come on, Scary, you're not helping here. You're making the rest of us
help us. Lose a few.
Yeah, there's a couple of others, Archon George and Sky Serpent in the UK, who are really strong players. They both did very well at the LGT recently, for example. Got a bit of background.
Got a dog going on the background there.
So in that respect, my concern is that perhaps the Drakari win rate, if you took them out, is probably in the 30s rather than the 40s, which would be more reflective of how bad that index is at the moment.
You made an actually really interesting point there, saying how, like, although they are still quite low down, you said that one of them got a big points increase. One of the big units.
Yes. So Ravagers, as I said, they're gunboats. They got an points increase, and the reason they did is because Eldar weren't strong enough, right? So there is an Eldar faction called Inari who can take Drakari units as allies.
Right.
And so Inari were taking our Ravagers in their lists.
Stealing the good parts.
So they were boosting their own win rate by stealing the one good unit that we had.
But then that's like still messing you guys up though, with Drakari. Yes. So like this is what I was going to mention. Like, although I love the metawatch videos that they do and like discuss like their thought process, they still don't go into detail on why exactly they've changed these things, because I'm guessing that's just speculation to a degree, right? Like, that's just what we've all seen online, where people are taking that unit, so that's the reason.
I mean, they're not giving us. Stu Black talks a lot about this, about how they drill down into the data of which specific units have been taken, but they don't tell us.
But then they stop quite. And I mean, it's probably not viable or easy for them to do each unit and each specific reason why. But I just thought I just think it would be quite interesting.
I fully agree. They should. Yeah, it would be nice to see them pick one faction and drill down for each metawatch and drill down a little bit further.
Like, this is why we have changed this unit because of this. Now I don't know why they're not doing that. Maybe they don't want to release little secrets or stuff.
Most of the data you can find on websites like what's it called, StatCheck. There are websites out there that collate data from the tournament scene that you can use. GW uses its own data as well as some of their data. But generally speaking, they're not too far away from each other. So anybody can go and kind of find the live data on any given weekend. You can see what the meta's doing. The drill down stuff is not as easy to access, and that's where GW has been a little bit coy, and it would be nice for them to just give us a bit more info.
Maybe it's a skeptic of me, but like, it's because whenever I see like stuff, like if I see like a random unit becoming massively more a massive reduction in points, in my head I'm like, I'm just trying to sell more of their models. Like,
there was definitely an element of that, I think, because across a lot of factions there was some points drops that we've just touched on this. You mentioned it before, like crisis suits. There was a Drakari unit called Scourge who also have dart lances and can fire and fade innately. Like, it's not, you don't ever have to spend CP. I can just sit behind a building all game, pop out, shoot you, and pop back. It's really not fun. Fun for your opponents,
because you literally can't do anything. You're like,
unless you've got indirect fire, you can't get them.
Yeah, you can't get them.
So you've got to actually get up the board and then eliminate them. So and they got a small points drop. It was less than 10%, but we were all like, because the data definitely shows that, like, anecdotally, obviously I'm saying we aren't seeing the exact data, but I know for a fact that every competitive Drakari list is taking loads of those Scourge units. Probably 3. At least 2, but probably 3. So GW, Stu Black, sitting in his chair in the MetaWatch video, and he's saying to us, well, we're drilling down and looking at which of these units are taken. But he's saying, we're looking at which of these units have been taken, and we're adjusting the points accordingly, but they're not necessarily.
Exactly.
There are definitely other motives in play, as well as
dark motives.
Darky motives
in the GW factory.
Very, very grim dark motives would be very fitting, wouldn't it?
Sitting there with sable skulls around them.
These are essentially minor criticisms. I mean, obviously, I'm a Drakari player. I'm a naturally salty man, as anybody that listens to this will be.
You salty? No. You take every loss on the chin.
But I would like to see Drakari knocked up there, back up into the Goldilocks zone, obviously. But generally speaking, these are minor criticisms that we're talking about here. Overall, they've done a fantastic job of balancing this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, again, I'll still do a little dig here and there at GW, but I've got to give it them. Almost 4 months in, and they've got it this balanced. Please just maintain it. That's my only ask from this point.
Yeah, exactly. If we need to avoid the codex creep, and just finer tweaks now to try and keep this a balanced and fun game.
Mm-hmm.
The other challenge, just the only other challenge I think would like to see addressed, and this will come with the codexes hopefully, is internal balance. So in some indexes, like we're both Necron players, there is maybe a third of that index that isn't really playable if you're playing anything close to a competitive game. The internal balance isn't there yet, and Drukhari, half of it you can't play if you want to play a competitive list. So there's and those factions are not alone. There are other factions like that. So there is some internal balance to do, but get the main balance right first, then tweak the internal balance, and we're all in for a fantastic edition.
I completely agree. I think that's the main points, isn't it?
Exchanges. I think a double thumbs up from us, and it's been this is a cracking start. Let's see where it goes next.
Absolutely. Well, up next we'll be talking about the Space Marine Assault Squad as our unit review. So stay tuned. So, Dan, unit review.
Yes, you've picked an absolute classic unit this time.
I have. I had to pick them. The Space Marine Terminator Assault Squad is what I've picked.
Ooh.
Absolute classic of a unit. I remember these back in the day of Space Hulk.
Yes, the Space Hulk is a very iconic game. It was the gateway drug for a lot of 40k
certainly
players.
Was for me. It grabbed me when I was younger, and now it's rinses for every single bit of money I've got to now. So not good. But yes, I had to pick them. It's the first time we're doing a different army. Is that right?
Yes, it is. And we've been doing Necron units, stayed in our comfort zone for a few episodes. We're branching out. Branching out.
And it's a good first one to start with, to be fair. So massive fan of them since Space Hulk. I think just overall they're just a handsome unit to have on the battlefield as well.
Yeah, they're great looking. They've done quite a good job with the new sculpts, haven't they?
Yes.
In terms of having them, they're almost I would say an auto include in a lot of armies. Particularly with the assault ones because of that deep strike capability. Yes,
because they've got a few different shenanigans they can do.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I guess let's just get straight into it then. We'll go maybe quickly talk about the kind of the data slate that they've got themselves. So it's like 5-inch movement. They hit on freeze, both in melee and in shooting. Strength 4, toughness 4. Bit of a strange drop. 3 wounds though, which is always quite nice, and 2 attacks and 3 attacks for the sergeant. Overall pretty good, pretty sturdy. 2 up save as well, so can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, 2 up, is always helpful.
And that can be upgraded or changed with their war gear that they can bring. So these guys can only bring actually this set that I've picked can only bring 2 sets of war gear. One of them being the Lightning Claws, which again is just an iconic look to the Space Marines, which I absolutely thoroughly love. And the next one is the Thunderhammer and Storm Shield.
Yeah, this one is actually my favourite.
Is it?
Yeah, I do love I don't like playing against it, but I do love the look of it.
Yeah, no, fair. I've got to be a big fan of the Lightning Claws myself. But yes, because if they take the Storm Shield, they actually get a plus. They actually get a +4 invulnerable save as well.
Sweet.
Which is obviously really nice, and they get an extra 1 to their armor save. So their obviously normal save is 2, but if you get a -1 to that, that's still going to be.
All right, interesting.
So still really, really good stuff for their war gear. It is really strong. Ability wise, not loads, but useful. I would say ones. So the one you've just touched on before is the teleporter one.
Oh right, yes. So this is different. This is slightly different to Deep Strike, is it?
Yeah. So it's a very similar thing, but it allows them to deep strike. So if they're on the field, in their movement phase, yes. So basically at the start of your movement phase, you can actually take them off the board and then replace them back down. So
so is this the one where you deploy it's not the I need to be careful here because it's not the secondary mission deploy teleport homer, but at the start of the game you put a teleport homer on the board. Is that right?
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Which is really nice to have.
Yeah.
Because again, that movement wise.
And then I didn't realise this. So then you can at any point later in the game you can move them to that homer teleport.
Exactly.
Homer. Exactly. That's strategically that's quite useful, isn't it?
Just for those secondary objectives that we keep talking about.
Yeah.
Getting on the board to lines, engage on all fronts, really, really good stuff.
Yes, and in terms of Deep Strike, if you can pull off a 9-inch charge with these boys, then you're laughing, aren't you? Because they'll do some serious work if they get into melee.
Yep, absolutely. And then built into them at a core, it's got this thing called Crux Terminatus?
Crux Terminatus, yes.
So built in, they have a 5-up invulnerable save. So if you're looking to take them claws, well, you've already got a 5-up invulnerable save.
Ah, nice.
Really nice.
I was wondering about that when you were saying before. So it's a 5-up. It's a 5-up invuln with the claws and a 4-up with the shields.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So basically, they'll be strength 4, but they'll be having 2 attacks each, so they'll be getting through quite a lot.
Yes,
I reckon. And that is kind of mainly the other stuff that we've got going on.
And there's character. They've obviously brought out a new captain in Terminator armor, librarian in Terminator armor. So there's options for combos with some of those characters. There's too many with the Spaceman. There's too many combos to go through in a unit review. It's almost like a video in itself, wouldn't it? But
it is.
But there's I think it's worth touching on that there are definitely a lot of strong options there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons I dislike playing against Terminators is when they're in deep strike is you've just got to be very careful
because they come in anyway.
Really. if you leave a gap in your lines and they make that 9-inch charge, then it can change a game.
Yeah, and typically they always bring them in squads of 5 as well, so you can space them out.
Yes.
So although you think you've got the 9 inches, like blob circle, you haven't, because they'll just space them, so they spread themselves out, which is just
edge along a little space on a board.
It's nothing worse where you think you've zoned out your opponent, and then they just be like, "Oh, yes, 5 Terminators. I'm gonna squeeze them right on the edge." You're like, "Let me double check that measurement." Let me put out your own little measurement. Oh, shit, he's right.
It's still something that I need to get better at. I think it just comes with practice, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, zoning out is difficult. But yeah, for me, if I was making a Space Marine list, I think this is one of the units that would definitely suit my play style, and I would like to include.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, because a lot of them came in, not this squad particular, but another set of Terminators came in the Leviathan box, didn't it?
Yes, so you got the standard Terminator, so to speak, which have got the bolters, and there's one of them who's got an assault cannon, I think. And then obviously you've got the characters we're talking about there, like the new captain and librarian in Terminator armor, which are lovely. The librarian in particular is like a really cool model.
Really good model.
So yeah, you got this would be a really good. This unit would be a really good addition to that, and I think that's why it'll be on a few Christmas lists this year. Yeah,
absolutely. And speaking about Christmas, what we've got next coming up?
Yes, let's talk about the GW Christmas Battleboxes.
Yes, good variety in this year. So yeah, we'll talk about that next.
Excellent. So next up, we're going to talk about the Christmas Battleboxes.
Yes, looking forward to this.
Yes, which you're not allowed to open on Christmas Day. You have to open it on Battleboxing Day.
Oh, they're going to hate us today.
Yeah,
they really
dad
are.
Jokes for days.
But yes, well, Christmas has come early. It's quite nice to see what's coming this year.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, if you're newish to the hobby, this is something that GW does as an annual thing. In the run-up to Christmas, they pull together some boxes for specific factions.
Yep.
They offer you some pretty attractive discounts, so it's a great way to get to pick up a new army or to add to an existing force.
Yeah.
And depending on your point of view, they either are like super discounted, attractive boxes, or it's GW chucking a load of trash that they're trying to get out of the warehouse into a box.
It certainly happens.
It has happened in the past. There's been a mixed bag, hasn't there? Sometimes
the Tyranid one. Remember the Endless Swarm? Because they got rid of all the old plastic models of the Homagons and Termagons. So they're basically battle box that there was a massive thick box of like
they wheelbarrowed like them into these boxes.
After they got loads of them unpainted.
But on the flip side though, like last year's Night box was super good value. Like the Imperial Knights was really good. One
big Knight. I'll put a picture on screen. But it was one big Knight, and I think it was 4 what's it called? Armigers, which was really good value.
Yeah, it was great
for the price.
So last year they were £130, which was represented a significant discount. This year they haven't released pricing yet. We're going to go back into our notorious prediction territory here, but if we look back over the last 12 months since the last battle boxes, we've had significant price increases.
We have
across the board from GW. So if the battle box prices are in line with those price increases, we could see them go up from 130 to as much as 150.
Yeah.
I think around the 145, 150 mark might be a good guess.
And based on the percentages that we've got later on in the video, that kind of makes sense, because we're looking at roughly about like 25% across the range.
Yeah, you're looking at roughly
as a discount.
Yes, which is still pretty decent.
It is. We'll definitely get into those now. So, what factions do we have to look through then?
There's 6 they've got, which is great. Got plenty of choice. So we'll start off with the first one, which is Space Marines.
Yes, it's an interesting one. This one. you want to talk through which units are inside of it?
Yeah, so this one is crazy, right? Because you've got 15 jump pack intercessors.
That's crazy. 15.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
You've got a captain with a jump pack,
Yes.
And then you've got 3 outriders and an invader ATV, which is the all-terrain vehicle with a big gun on the back, which is a really cool model, but is pretty pants at the moment. It's not. I
feel like they were like, we've got 30 quid to spare. What do I do? Let's whack that one in, right? Yeah.
That's a very good point, right? Because like you were just talking before about the Tyranids and in the previous year's boxes when they just piled a load of old models in. Yep. These jump pack intercessors and the jump pack captain have just come out, so I was really surprised to see these. And this one kind of sets a tone because what these things that GW are trying to do for the Tyranids and the Space Marines, their codex has just come out.
Yes,
both of those factions are in the Leviathan boxes,
uh-huh.
and both of their boxes are kind of designed to add to the what was in the Leviathan box.
Yes.
So if you're a new player or you've just getting into those factions, this is designed to be the next step of adding on to that.
It is. Price wise, what does those all come to then? So if you buy them separately, it's £197.50.
Yes.
If you buy them all together.
Yes.
And obviously recommend a retail price that we believe it's going to be is roughly about £150.
Yes.
So that's a saving of about £47.
24%, yeah, £47.50 saving. It's about 24%. Out of the 6, that is the lowest percentage in terms of discount.
It is. It's still a percentage.
It's still good. It's not to be sniffed at, is it?
That's 2 extra captain with a jump pack.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want 2 more of those ones.
Well, and this one was of particular interest to me because, as I mentioned on previous podcasts, my son collects Ultramarines.
Yes.
He loves the Smurfs, and obviously don't have any of these because they're new models. So it did look initially quite attractive. What you touched on before, though, is like saying that there's it's got the Outriders in here, which are bikes, and the ATV, and they make up between them like nearly 70 quid of the value, if you like.
Yeah.
And they aren't particularly great units in this edition.
No.
So if you take them out of the equation, it would be actually cheaper for me to buy my son, just buy him 15 jump pack intercessors and the captain.
Uh-huh.
So it's a bit of a mixed bag. There's some brand new units in there which I'd love to see from GW, but then we've got a little bit of old tats creeping in there, I think, really.
And I mean, a lot of times people probably just buy the box and then probably just sell on the Outriders on eBay and such, trying to make some sort of profit back.
And if you look at, I haven't got the data in front of us, but you look at the eBay prices for the likes of Outriders, isn't brilliant at the moment.
No, probably not, because they've probably just been over shoveled.
I mean, the thing is, there's probably a strong argument to say you should never base your buying decisions on what is exactly meta at the moment, because things can change.
Every day. Yeah.
So if no one's taking Outriders and ATVs in their lists, as we were touched on before in a previous section, then in theory GW will adjust the points or change the rules and make them more attractive to take. So if you are in a position of starting out your collection, or you don't own those models in terms of the Outriders and ATV, it's a good box.
It is. Yeah. Point wise though, very small on points. 505 points.
Really?
In this box. So for 150 quid, that's only getting 555 points. It's on the bar of Imperial Guard. Imperial Guard are typically the most expensive army to buy.
Yeah, pound for points. Yeah,
exactly. PPP is what I'm going to call it.
Yeah, I like
forward.
it. Yeah, Triple P.
We can definitely get into the Triple Ps later.
Yes,
because I've got a bit more of a better breakdown.
Good.
But at a high level, that just seems low.
Yeah, for Marines it does, but I think that's also reflective of where Marines are at the moment. Is they're just not, in terms of points cost, they're not as elite as they used to be. You can field more Marines than you could in ninth.
Yeah, certainly can.
But it's not a bad start.
No, not at all.
I think
it's savings at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it's about who these boxes are aimed at. Is if you are a seasoned Space Marine collector, as we said, you might just want the jump pack guys, so you might end up buying them separately. It might not be for you.
Yeah,
that's probably not really who this is for. These boxes are generally aimed at GW's core demographic, which is newer players.
Yeah, it is. And it makes sense.
There's some famous research that they released, I think it was a couple of years ago, which is basically like the buying persona at GW, like who goes, like if you had to say what does the average person look like that goes into a Warhammer store and buys something,
right? Okay.
And it's women aged like 30 to 50.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
Now either they're buying for kids who are coming into the hobby,
sure,
or there is a massive secret underground Mamhammer network that we don't know about.
Oh shit!
which I would love if there is one. Yeah,
that would be crazy.
But yeah, I think generally speaking, they're buying for kids, and that's what these Christmas boxes are. I think are for, and the Space Marine one very clearly indicates that that's GW's thinking. You've already bought Leviathan. This is what you need next.
That makes sense. It is a good ask. What we got next then?
World Eaters.
World Eaters.
Yeah.
Exalted of the
Exalted of the Red Angel. It's the
I like the name of that.
It's got the coolest name.
Yeah. So what's in this box then?
This is a good box, depending on again which side of the fence you're on. So straight out of the box, if you excuse the pun, is
they're gonna really hate us today.
I don't know what's wrong with me today. I can't help myself. I'm so sorry.
Hey, I'm on board with all the puns. I like it.
Yes. First up is Angron, who's obviously Primarch. Fantastic model.
Absolutely.
Big boy. And he's supported in this with 10 Khorne Berserkers, 6 Exalted 8-bound, which is a bittersweet moment for a lot of our friends. One of our friends, Alex, waited something like 4 months to get his 8-bound from GW when they first came out in 9th. So it was a bit of a surprise to see them in this box again, but it's good. It's a good, it's a nice surprise. So in that respect, it's model-wise, you're getting like 17 models in there, but one of them is Angron.
And one of them is Angron, which is almost as much alone point-wise than the Space Marine one, because Angron is 415 points.
Yeah.
And then the Space Marine box, you're getting all of that for 505 points.
Yes.
So less than 90 away from each other.
In terms of savings, you're looking at about a saving of, based on £150 we're forecasting for the price, about a 30% discount, which is pretty tasty.
It is. 65 quid discount across the board.
65 quid discount is not to be sniffed at. And but again, this is going to depend on where you are in the hobby. So if you are a World Eaters player like Alex, he's not going to buy this because he doesn't need Angron.
I was about to say the same thing. Like that is like already kind of like isolating the majority of the world, because obviously when World Eaters came out, there wasn't a lot of models that you could buy for it. So everyone was like, well, I'll get Angron. Because he's the biggest, baddest guy there. And
he was available.
And he was available to purchase, So everyone's probably most likely got Angron. So, I mean, you could still buy the box and sell Angron, and you'd probably make a healthy profit from that.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I think there is the opportunity there, and maybe the likes of Alex, he might buckle and end up buying it for the 8 pounds.
Of course he's going to buckle. But, sorry, Alex, I know I can read you like a book, mate. He's probably already got it in his basket,
Yeah, he probably does. But there's other people like one of our other friends, Lewis. He's like he's absolutely loves chaos. He's never had World Eaters, and he's like, actually, this is a great. This is perfect for me. It's a good in, exactly. So they've done a good job on this, and I think this one's going to be popular. I really do.
Do you reckon they've like overprinted Angron and they've underprinted the Exalted, so that's why they've got them in the same box for us, so that they can just be like, right, well,
the 8-bound really, because you can build them as normal 8-bound or Exalted, but those models have been like hen's teeth up until about a couple of months ago. They were just ridiculous.
Is that why there's only 6 in here? they've just got none.
It's funny that they sell them in like, why are they not in 8s?
I mean, this is probably going to be. What is the? We probably don't know, but like, I wonder what's their squad limit? Is it like?
I think it's 6. I think it's
6.
Yeah, I think it's 3 to 6.
Oh, is it coming free? Right.
I think so. Correct us if we're wrong in the comments, as usual. But that's my vague memory of it.
It would be silly if they didn't because they've done it with some Space Marine boxes that do come in boxes of 8, but you can only bring them in squads of 5 and 10.
It was the Death Guard Plague Marines, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. There,
so they had to change that. Yeah.
Well, but they can't change the boxes.
Yeah.
so good box overall.
That one's going to do very well. And then the third one we're looking at is right up your street. So do you want to talk us through this one?
Yeah, so it's the Tyranid Onslaught Swarm one. So inside this box, got quite a lot of models, to be fair.
Yeah, it's good spread.
It is. So we've got the Norm
Emissary, yes.
That's the one. I can never pronounce the name.
No, it's a difficult one, that one.
Winged Hive Tyrant, 20 Homogons, 10 Gene Stealers, and randomly 2 Ripper Swarms.
2 random Rippers.
Exactly. It just looks like they were just trying to like fill out the table, wasn't it, when they were doing this one?
But in terms of a reasonably good spread, would you say?
It is. I have some comments that I would like to make later on, but there's some definitely good spread. And again, the box comes, if you add them all up separately, it comes to about £200 if you were to buy them all separately.
Right.
Which again is about £50 saving, which again is about what, 25%?
25%, yeah.
Which nothing to shy about. 50 quid is always nice.
50 quid, yeah.
Again, you can get some more Ripper Swarms for that if you really want to.
A lot of Ripper Swarms for that, yeah.
Exactly.
It'll go down well with the Mamhammer crowd though. £50 off.
Exactly. And I think again, this one is really good for the ones who are looking to move on from the Leviathan box.
Yes,
They've got a good start with the Leviathan box, but they want some more heavy hitters, but they also need some more elite units, which is where the Gene Stealer comes in, and to the Winged Hive Tyrant for the extra HQs.
Yeah, it felt like a bit like the Space Marine one. It felt like they were giving you the melee punch to sort of complement what was in the Leviathan set, which is nice.
Exactly, and the Norm, my goodness,
it's okay. Emissary, yes.
Emissary. I'll get there. I will get there. But like that one, that's a fantastic looking model. That's beautiful. Everyone's gonna be looking at that and be like, yeah, like very similar to Angron. Like, I want that. Need that in my collection.
This was what was missing from the Space Marine box was that centerpiece. And they've got the Outriders and the ATV in there. Even if they just swap that out for a tank or something, something just to be a centerpiece.
Exactly.
But I'm really glad to see a big centerpiece like the Emissary in this one.
100%. And again, with the Winged Hive Tyrant, again, it's still a lovely looking model.
Yeah.
I've got it just behind you.
Oh yes.
But again, it's a fantastic looking model. Everyone loves seeing it. It's just a menace to be on the battlefield. Basically.
Yeah, it's a good model.
The one thing I was going to say, as I mentioned before, though, is the 20 Homogons in the box. I'm just a bit like, we don't need them.
You've got Homogon fatigue, haven't you?
I think everyone does, because again, like before the Leviathan box came out, they were shoveled in the last battle box.
Yes.
There was like 40 of them inside that box. And then the Leviathan came out, again, another 40 to 30 of those kind of models.
Yeah.
So having an extra 20 Homogons in here, I just wish they maybe could have replaced that, because the 20 Homogons is 60 quid.
Right.
I would have much preferred to see some other heavy hitters in there, like some Carnifexes or like the Biovores, the Biovore shooter. I forgot.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Just more of those ones, just for more choice, really, because the Terminators have a good variety of units to pick from.
Yes.
But I mean, I get why they've picked them though, because it goes back to the name. It's Onslaught Swarm.
Yes,
so,
and I think it comes back to that sort of the cover art almost is to get those kids excited about it. You need some bodies in there, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Because obviously Terminator aren't always the strongest out there or the toughest out there. But again, I think it would have been nice just to swap those ones out. Keep the Gene Stealers, keep the Winged Hive Tyrant, the Norma Emissary.
Yes.
Along with obviously some some Hive Guard I wanted to mention as well.
Oh
actually.
yeah.
I thought it would have been really nice to have some Hive Guard in there.
That's a really good shout.
They're really hard to get a lot of the times.
And it would have fitted really nicely in that box. You're right, and I think if we're going back to target audience being kids or secret MAM players, if you're coming into the hobby, do they really want another 20 models to paint?
No, we do not. We do not.
We don't want to be putting them off.
Nah.
But it's not the worst box. But it's,
no. Again, it's a good start. But the thing is, if I bought that, all that stuff's probably good. I'd probably just ignore the Homogons. I'll probably just sell the Homogons. 60 quid back, so I'd be paying 100 odd quid for the Winged Hive Tyrant Gene Stealers. That's a good steal.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to is if there's too many units in there that you don't want, is it still worth it, or does that nullify the discount? If you can get some money back for the Homogons, you're still in gravy, aren't you?
Exactly. Next one, we've got the Leagues of Votann.
Yes, Defenders of the Ancestors. It sounds like a 90s cartoon.
What was the Space Marine one? Did we cover that one or not?
I can't
Space Marine. Oh yeah, just Spearhead Force. Sorry,
right,
Space Marine.
Yeah.
Not as good as the other ones.
Wasn't worthy of comment.
No, I'll cut that bit out. No one wants to hear that. But yes, Leagues of Votann. What we got for this one then?
Yeah, now this is interesting. It's quite an elite box, but it's all very usable in a Votann list. Partly because the Votann have only got about 7 units anyway, so you haven't got much choice.
That's true. I think everything they have is in this box.
It's pretty much but this is really good value. This come out the highest discounted predicted saving of £87.50, which is pretty strong. That's like 37% off, which is really tasty.
Highest one out there, yeah.
And in terms of what it's got in it, it's got the Einhir Half Guard, who are like their equivalent of Terminators.
Right. Yes.
Obnoxious unit to play against at the moment. Very hard. Can be very hard to kill.
Yeah.
You've got the Einhir Champion. You're my favourite, the Hecaton Land Fortress that we were talking about before.
Again, 225 points, ridiculous for what he can do.
It's got the Grimnir in it, who is not an auto-picking list, but he's still a lovely model. And then the Sagittor ATV, which is their smaller little all-terrain vehicle. So there's not there's not a mass of models in this, but they're all it's a very good value box if you're a Votann player.
It is. Again, is this one of more of a good start to the game, or is this again more of a good add-on to your current collection of Votann models?
This is an interesting one. So because the range is so small still for Votann, they're basically playing with half an index still because it's new. So almost all of this is usable unless you've already got a very healthy 2,000 or 3,000 points of Votann. most of this you could buy, and a lot of it you can duplicate. So, like we were talking before, most lists are running at least 2 Hecaton land fortresses. So if you've only got one, this is a great way to get another one.
Exactly, and obviously top up your collection.
Yeah,
as well.
the Einhir Hearthguard are also like a meta unit at the moment. They're doing very well. So yeah, there's this one is one of the ones I think that would be is a very good starting point for someone coming into Votann, but also has potential to cross over to existing collectors.
Exactly. Very nice. Next one, Imperial Guard.
Yeah, Cadian Defence Force. It's a bit late to be trying to defend Cadia, isn't it?
Where they keep getting these Cadian people from? Wasn't Cadia destroyed?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it doesn't live on or anything. No. Like that, you know? I'm feeling the Imperial Guard people right now, just sitting there, just grabbing the hand like, Cadia lives on. Cadia stands.
Cadia stands, yes.
Yes, but unfortunately it does not. It has been destroyed. So what we've got in here, in this box, is 20 Cadian shock troopers, 5 Cadian, the 5 Cadian, oh my goodness, can't get that out there, Cadian command squad,
yes.
Got there. And then at the end, 2 Rogel Dawns.
This is a really odd box.
It's an odd box, which I thoroughly love. If I'm honest. I think it's a really good top-up collection to your Imperial Guard, because Guard is always, I mentioned before, but it's always been a very pricey army to get into because of how many points they are.
Yes, the Guard infantry are so cheap that you need to spend a lot of money to fill a 2K list out.
Exactly.
If you're taking infantry.
Exactly. I mean, there again, 5 Cadian command squad, 65 points. For almost 30
and that's
quid.
The command squad, yeah.
So
I mean,
30 quid for 5 models. It's just like, it's pricey, isn't it? Like, God. It's where tanks kind of do shine a bit more.
That's 13 points a model for a command squad. That's the same as we pay for Death Marks, I think.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Or Death Marks are 70 now. I think they've gone slightly, but it's basically around. Or 5 Mandrakes and a Drakari list. So it's cheap.
It is. But I mean, obviously, price wise, again, if you add them all up together, it's about £207.50, which is a saving of about 28%.
Well, you see, that's still decent.
Still good. Not the worst one in the collection.
The proviso is, again, it comes back down to the big stuff, because obviously, rule of 3, if you already own 2 Rogel Dawns, are you going to buy this box?
Well, that's it.
Because you end up with 4.
Yeah, because I do. So I do have 2 Rogel Dawns in my list
already.
Of course you do. So what was that supposed to mean, Dan? But yes, I do have 2. So I mean, again, you could sell them on. Rogel Dawns will definitely sell on eBay.
Yeah, popular tank, and it's good in the game at the moment, isn't it?
Exactly. So they were about 60 quid each. So I'm already getting a pretty hefty amount of money back.
Yeah.
But again, 20 Cadian shock troops. If I need. You know, obviously my list's primarily focused on tanks, so although this box is looking very handsome, I'm not really attracted to it because I've already got 2 Rogel Dawns, and I don't really use troops in my list very much, so kind of against it.
From a beginner's perspective, I wasn't sure about it, like whether they should have gone with 1 Rogel Dawn and something else just to give a bit more variety. I mean, the Rogel Dawn is good, but
again, if you get rid of one of those Rogel Dawns, what are you going to bring in? Because then that would be a lot of troops that you'd be throwing into that box.
Yeah,
which is good.
Unless you'd have to chuck in like a couple of Lehman Russ or something, I suppose, instead.
A couple of Lehman Russes instead might have been a good shout. Like a nice centerpiece, like Rogel Dawn is a centerpiece, and then backing up that is 2 Lehman Russes might have been a better shout.
But again, it's not the worst box in the world, is it? You can
see, not at all.
If for existing guard players that don't have 2 Rogel Dawns, it's a steal.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. This is a great, because again, that's what £120.
Yeah. That's virtually the box, isn't it?
It is exactly right. And that's if the price, when retail price is 150, it might still be less. So you might even get a better saving on that. But I think this is a perfect for a person who wants the Rogel Dawns or just someone who's coming in at the hobby.
Yeah,
it's definitely a really good steal. But yeah, point wise, again, 705 I mentioned before, but that's really good for a box to start yourself with. Imperial Guard, this is a good boost.
You were saying earlier that you would have liked to seen more different units in the bundle, like
yeah, I was going to say some Ogrins. They're never really seen very much.
Yeah,
like I would have said, get rid of 1 Rogel Dawn, have another HQ like maybe Ursula Creed or maybe Lord Solar.
Yes,
get him inside there along with some Ogrins, because they're bodyguards basically.
Yes.
So some Ogrins in there would have been nice. Like 2 squads of so 1 squad of Ursula Creed, and then alongside 2 squads of Ogrins. Been really funny, been really good.
Yeah, and I think having a named character in there would have made it a bit more attractive to some of those newer players as well.
Exactly, I think that's what would have really peaked on that box.
Yeah, so there's a couple of other ways they could have gone, but it's still a decent box. But there's obviously this is all subjective, but I think there was room for improvement with that box.
It definitely is. Spot on. Well, they're not going to be defending much more anymore because that's Cadian's gone. So what we got next? We've got Orks.
Yeah, the Beast Snagger Stampede.
Again, another good name.
It is like a good name, and this is an interesting one because this is quite a meta box, apart from the centerpiece, which is a bit weird. But the two ways to play Orks at the moment is that we talked about earlier, like loads of boys in trucks, but a lot of the
party buses all the way.
A lot of them are going with Squighog Riders and Beast Snagger boys, which seem to be very, very effective really good as well. So this box has a lot of those Squighog boys. It's got Nob on Smasher Squig, or you can build him as the named character, who is Mozrog Scragbad.
Yes,
who is absolute pain to kill. I think he's got a 4-up infant and a 4-up feel no pain.
He does. I took like 4 Leman Russes against him. Didn't even kill him. It was sad.
We can talk. It's funny us talking about that with a straight face because that's exactly what the Transcendent Catan does with with the Sempiternal Weave, isn't it?
It is. But
this is disgusting.
How dare you?
But yeah, it's also got a Pain Boss Medic who's maybe not quite as meta, and then 10 Beast Snagger Boys, and then it's got the Kill Rig in there as well, which you can build one or two ways also, but with or without the Psycho. But that's the Kill Rig. It represents quite a chunk of the box. It's the centerpiece of this box. As the rules stand, it's not. We're not seeing it a lot competitively.
No. I've seen a lot of it in 9th.
Yes,
but,
yes,
with the Psycho on there.
Yeah,
people running free of them, but no, I've seen a lot this time.
Because Orks are above the Goldilocks zone, will they look at reducing the points on the Kill Rig to make it more playable the next round, or will they be focusing on just getting Orks back into the Goldilocks zone? I don't know.
That's true.
But it's it's a big centerpiece model. It's got a lot going on there. It looks like a lot of fun. So if you rule of cool wise, then this is a good box. And
I think it also transports units as well, doesn't it?
I believe so. Yes, yeah. So again, I think it's the Beast Snagger Boys that can go in it. If I remember correctly.
Again, just more and more party bus. Really, that's all I see. Yeah, that's really good. I like that. But again, a pretty good price. So if you bought them all separately, it's £220.
Yeah, so that's a big old saving.
32%.
Yes, that's decent.
Really good.
And Orks, because we were talking about before, the same as Imperial Guard, you've got to field quite a lot of bodies in an Ork army. Yep. So any discount is welcome because it's just expensive to fill a list out.
It is. And again, you got a good variety of models in there as well, because again, like a lot of people might not have the kill rigs, so having that as a centerpiece, and then all these extra stuff that you can bring in, being able to change that, was it Mozrog? You can build them with something else.
Yes.
That's quite nice flexibility, so that, you're not going to buy that box and be like, I can't use him because I've got one of him.
It's an interesting one because very often with a named character model, it's either a named character or nothing. Like you buy it, you can't change it into something else.
Exactly.
Whereas this is one of the good occasions where you've got that flexibility. So if you've already built Mozrog, you can build it as a Nob on a Squig and still use it in your army. So
exactly. It's really good. That's really nice. That's it for the Orks one. Any final thoughts across the board?
I think overall it's a good job. They're not, generally speaking, there's some attractive discounts, and they're not just shifting crap out of the warehouse in Nottingham. There's a good mix in there. There's some good new units. I think, as we said, they know their target audience, and these are squarely aimed at newer players, and they should go down quite well.
It is. I completely agree. I think overall the boxes are good this year. Yeah. One thing I was going to mention as well is I quite like how they've not repeated themselves from last year as well.
Very good point.
I'll put the script picture on screen, but we've got like last year we had like the Thousand Suns, we had the Death Guard, we had Admech, Custodes, Sisters of Battle, and Imperial Knights.
Yeah, the Custodes and the Imperial Knights boxes in particular last year were awesome because you got the Imperial Knights one was probably one of the best discounts I've ever done. Yep. But it's nice to see them focusing on different factions. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's good that they don't repeat themselves just because then it gets bland. I mean, they've repeated the Space Marine one because last year you had those really each faction or each detachment had their own box.
Yeah, each chapter. A few of the main chapters got their own boxes, didn't they?
Which was quite nice, like a nice little centerpiece for a Christmas.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the hobby is what it is. Space Marines are always going to get more attention than everybody else because they sell more. So
exactly, makes sense. But also, I put together a little spreadsheet of basically what I'm going to I referred to before was the PPP.
Yeah,
so the P's. So it's basically pound per point. So, although looking down the list, we thought, like the savings on the Votann box, you're saving what was it, like 30% So you saved £87.50 on the Votann box. But if you actually break it down on pound per point, the ones that come out on top are actually the World Eaters. So
Right.
the World Eaters had the most amount of points in the box. And if you convert that to the £150 price mark, it's actually, so for every £1 that you spend, for the World Eaters, you get 6.1 points.
Nice.
And if we go down the list, so the Space Marine box, pound per point, you get 3.4 points.
It's not very good.
It's not. It's one of the worst ones. Because again, that was only 505 points. So again, World Eaters at the top there, 6.1 points. Tyranids, for every pound you get 5.6 points.
Decent.
It is, and then this is where the Votann kind of drops off a bit. So for Votann, although you're getting the biggest saving, point-wise, you're only getting 5 points for every pound that you spend.
I mean, that's kind of mid, isn't it? It's not bad, but it's not awful.
Exactly. And then later down the line, we've got the Imperial Guard at 4.7 points for every pound, and then again, Orks at 4.9.
Right.
Which again, pretty good. So I think it's a really good metric to kind of compare against.
That's really interesting because based on those figures, the Space Marines are way off everybody else. They're like 1.5 less per pound than the next one up, which is Orks.
One. Yeah,
and they're nearly half the points of the best box, points per pound of the best box, which is World Eaters.
World Eaters, yeah. So again,
and that's partly comes back to what we were saying before, is that Space Marines are probably a bit too cheap, but also they have really aggressively priced, in terms of points, they've aggressively priced those jump pack guys. They're quite cheap to take in a unit. I'm expecting at some point they'll get a points increase. Yeah. If we looked at this in 3 or 6 months, their points per pound might be a bit better for the Space Marines by then. I think it's very good to compare against, because nowadays, especially after COVID and such, people do struggle for money. So I think just making sure that if you're looking to start an army, you might not want to start with the most expensive. I think that's really good advice. Yeah.
So
for a lot of working families, that can make a big difference.
Absolutely. So if you are looking to get your son into a hobby, I think it's really good to compare. And again, the average lady going into there won't be doing this math like I am. I only do it because I do find it fun, and I think it's just good to kind of see how Games Workshop operate in the background.
Yes.
But I think if you were going to start your army for your son, and you wanted to make sure you get the most value out of this to get your son playing in these games in the Games Workshop, because obviously they will say, oh well, you need a 2,000 point list, and then they're like, oh well, you'll need this box. Sometimes it might be good to this year World Eaters to get the points per value. I think that'll be the better call.
Yeah, massively.
But overall, I think it's a really good year for the Christmas boxes. Shame that we're not seeing any of the one factions that we primarily play, like Necrons or anything like that, or even the Drakari box. But it's going to happen eventually.
We'll get them eventually. We know we're getting a few new Necron units when the codex drops, so that's exciting, and we'll have to make do.
Absolutely.
It's probably for another video, but Necrons, just despite the fact that they're everywhere, because they were the equivalent of Tyranids in 9th, they were the Space Marines like enemies, and so they were in all the starter sets.
Exactly, yeah.
So there's loads of them out there, but they seem to hold the value very well still. The player base is quite loyal.
Yeah.
So discount boxes are always welcome for Necrons.
Just no more Warriors, please.
Yeah, no more Warriors.
Everyone sells the Warriors, and everyone's sick of them.
Yeah.
I think I've got about 95 of them.
Yeah, I've got too many Warriors.
Yeah, too many. I've painted them all as well and based them. My brain is fuzzled by them. But yeah, any other thoughts on that?
No, I think they've done a good job. Lots of different ways to analyse it, which we've done, and hopefully people can now make informed decisions about which ones are what.
Yeah. We did have a couple of questions from a couple of fans that I think we are more inclined to answer them in their own separate video.
Yes, so we were talking about starting a new segment, and instead of Ask the Expert, to be Ask the Idiots, because we're not experts yet.
We're not experts.
But
don't think we'll ever will be.
The questions that we got asked, though, were really good. But they need more time and focus than we can give them as like a small segment in the video. So they're almost videos, as you said, in their own right.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because the first question was about Battle Shock. I think that, again, it's going to be a good video that we're going to do for War Rules that we're thinking about.
Yes, so War Rules will be looking at contentious rules or rules that people make mistakes on
too often
by people. But yeah, we're going to put some of those instructional videos up to kind of help people, give you those resources. So we'll look at that in that. And then also the second question was a really good one as well, wasn't it?
Proxies. Yes. Are proxies, are you allowed to use them? When can you use them? Who should use them? And I think that in itself is just a massive topic to talk about, because there's ifs and buts all over the place with it. And one of the things that I mentioned that I'll briefly mention here now. So when it comes to proxies, like if the proxy rule does come into effect, well, who enforces that rule?
Proxy police, yeah.
Exactly. Then whoever enforces the rule, who then polices the rule? Is it GW? Is it the organisers of the events? Or is it the players themselves?
Yeah.
Once you figure out who enforces the rule, well, then who does like a quality monitoring check? So like the Winged Hive Tyrant, that's a massive, big winged model.
Yes.
But then if you have a proxy that has the wings tucked in, well, that's not fair.
Yeah, this is what they call modelling for advantage, isn't it?
Exactly. But on top of that, what if they then just had a 3D print that was just, unfortunately, just a little bit smaller?
You like scaled down slightly.
Scaled down, yeah. Who really gets out the model and measures? Who polices and enforces and kind of quality monitors all this stuff? So I think it's a massive topic that we will love to cover in a separate video.
Yeah, so 2 great questions. Thank you. Keep sending them in. If you've got any more questions, grab us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, etc. Leave a comment on this video. And obviously, if you haven't liked or subscribed to us on one of our podcast channels, please do so. We're on YouTube and we're on all the major sort of podcast platforms.
We are.
And thank you again for listening.